now we're going to talk about what do you leave, what is left after you conclude the project, right? So what can we share with others in terms of documentation once you have conducted your experimentation, you have collected data, you have analyzed it, and we want to leave it somewhere. So a lot of people don't really care about having a digital presence in many projects, but in this case, we want to experiment with that. And we would like to create simple websites that contain a small data log or a blog even for what you have been doing in your project. So instead of of course, you can do with your experiments and your sensors whatever you like, because the sensors are, at the end of the day, they are yours. But we only would like to ask for having a small website, which is, we're going to show how to do it now, and that looks like this, that can just simply showcase what you have done, but also contain everything that we have been seeing in terms of data in a reproducible way. So we think that this contributes a lot to the concept of reproducibility and traceability. And we want to, at the end of the day, test if this is useful and practical. So what does this mean? So we are going to create a website that looks like this. It's probably not the most beautiful looking website in the world, but it's quite convenient. And it contains different tabs or different pages, which can be used for different things. In this case, we just created a template. But the idea is that we want to convert this into a small blog for the project, even if you are doing modifications on the enclosures, like some of you are doing, or if you are experimenting with citizens, doing citizen activities, or if you are doing weird things like putting the sensors in remote places and collecting data for your research. Whatever doesn't compromise your research, and that is of course not confidential, you can post it in here, and we would love to see that, because we think that that will inspire a lot of people. So this is basically a template, and here we explain the whole structure. On the left side you have different pages, and the idea is that the content is structured in them. I'll show you how this looks in a second. But all this content, even if it looks fancy in here, is a simple text file that you don't need to know any web programming at all. It's all rendered for you by a tool that I will show you how it works in a second as well. We also explain here how to set up the environment for data that we already talked about in here. And in here, you will see that there's even a notebook, that this could be a Python notebook, or in general, a Jupyter notebook, but it can be Python or R. And here is as well your code. So interestingly, you can put all your code on the data in here, and even show some plots, which I think, or we think, that would be quite nice for showing the results of the data. Of course, if you are publishing or making publications in a journal or something like that after your project, you are fully free to do so. We don't get into that, but we would like to see something like this, because we think it's quite a nice and nice way of showing the data. How does this work? So for setting it up, I already asked you, and I don't know if all of you replied, but you need a GitHub account. We use this only for convenience, but you don't need to do it in GitHub. You can do it somewhere else if you like, but you would need an account in GitHub if you want to follow the default setup. And then you have to go to the template and follow the different steps. In the setting environment, we have already talked about installing Jupyter and SE data, so you can already skip that. But basically, this website is rendered by a tool called JupyterBook, which is we could call a static site generator that converts simple text files into websites like this. And when I say simple, I really mean very simple files. So the first step would be to install Jupyter Book, the same way that you install Jupyter Lab and you installed SE data in the command line using PIP. And then you have to get the template. So you can do so by simply following these two examples. There are two ways of doing it. If you have experience in Git, the either option is fine, but if you don't, I recommend that you fork that you follow the first one. So basically, you are going to be using our template, and you want to bring this template to a repository that you control. So for that, you do a fork, which is copying our template into your own user, and then you can clone your copy into your computer. So here you will have to modify these two things. Here will be your actual username, and here you will put your the name of your repository. If you don't change it, it will be smartcitizen-MINKE template, but you can change the name of the repository to whatever you like, and then you have to clone it and put it in here. Once you do that, you will get something like this in your computer, which is a folder that contains these things. Even if it looks like this is high-end developer, this is very, very simple. So these are simple text files that have a folder that contain the docs, which are the actual content, and then a couple of files that you really don't only need to touch once, that configure the title, the logo, and a couple of small things. So going into the first one, the config one, this underscore config.yml. Here you have the title, you have the author, and maybe even the repository. Beyond these three things, if you just modify this and save it, you don't have to do absolutely anything else. This other file defines the structure that you see on the right side, on the left side, sorry. So the introduction is this welcome. The first one is project. Third one is setup, then the notebook, and then publication. These ones have to match with the files that you have inside of the docs folder. So the docs folder contains the actual content that you want to share. And in here, you have, for instance, a notebook. This is how a notebook looks in the background when you don't use Jupyter Lab. So this is the actual thing that is being displayed in here, but you don't need to touch this at all. And on the rest, you have these files that are markdown files, which are almost text files that can be converted into a website. In the different example files that we have in here, you have very simple examples on how to create, for instance, links to websites, how to include photos or figures, and how to create lists, or even creating these banners. So this that says here as with this weird command or this weird syntax is shown here as a banner like this in green. So you can create in a very simple way, you can create this this website. You can create as many pages as you want and call them as you want. And as long as you simply put them in here and then save everything. You can also put photos. You can put the notebook, one notebook, or as many notebooks as you want. And you can also change the logo. Here we put the MINKE logo and this MINKE logo as well, but bigger on the top left. And you can change this for your own project. Even if you want, you can create a bibliographic reference for in case that you want to use references inside of your computer, of your website, that automatically render the references for you and that have the links to the DOIs or the different bibliographic entries. And these are compatible with BibTeX and other formats. For instance, Zotero or JabRef can export these type of things. So all these files would be defining the different aspects of your project. And ideally, what we want in here is that you have, for instance, a welcome page saying that, well, we're conducting these and these activities, we're doing this and this and that. Our project aims to do, we want to measure this, our plan is this one. We have having problems with the sensors in this way, or we want to calibrate the sensors and do this and whatever. Once you collect the data, you can have a notebook and have all this data here with the code. And you don't, this, just so you know, this is statics. This doesn't run. This is a website that is doesn't have a Python kernel in the background. And as many pages as you want. Once you have everything saved, you can either use the command line to upload the data. So let me go back in here to give you the commands. So you can here follow this process to, this is a normal add, commit, push workflow for Git. Or you can simply go to your GitHub repository and upload the files in here. So you can upload the files that you want, and it will open a simple next type of dialogue, in which you can simply download, grab the files from your computer and put them in here, commit, and then this will automatically take care of publishing the website for you. So it will be available, and there will be a website published on your username and the name of the repository, the same way that we have this one in here. For you to see where that website is, you can go to settings and then go to pages, and you will have a link in here. So clicking that link, it will bring you to the website that you're publishing. And if you share that website or that link with us, then we can put your link in here. And here we have the demo template, and here ideally we would have activate Climax from Constance and one from Sligo. And if you want to create more websites per project, well, at the end of the day, we can have as many websites as we want here. And believe me, it's not a very complicated process, but we think that is quite nice to have them all in here and compiled for anyone to just visit what you did and maybe get inspired or learn from your research, and bridge the gap a little bit between research and anyone that wants to see what you're doing.